Hello everybody, and welcome back to Steven's Fight Show. Alright, so UFC 283 this Saturday, Brandon Moreno and Deiveson Figueiredo will meet in the octagon for the co-main event of this fight, and they're going to be doing it for the fourth time, which is the first ever fourth fight in UFC history. And personally, I am very excited about this fight. I think this matchup between these two fighters is one of the best rivalries in combat sports right now. Both of these guys are exceptional mixed martial artists, and to think that they're going to be fighting for a fourth time is just really insane to think about. Again, like I said, nothing like this has ever happened before, and the last three fights between the two of them have been awesome. The first fight ended in a draw, which was a close fight. The second fight was where Brandon Moreno became champ, and the moment of him becoming champ was so special. And from that fight, we got the whole meme of him crying and saying, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, and maybe not the next month, but I will be champion one day. That whole meme was just born, and it was just so amazing to see. And honestly, it's hilarious every single time I watch that clip. And the last fight between Brandon Moreno and Deiveson Figueiredo at UFC 270 was a very good fight as well. Both guys put on an absolute scrap from the beginning of the fight all the way until the final bell. And quite frankly, I don't know if there was a fan out there that was not satisfied with that fight, apart from the outcome. After the fight, many people weren't pleased with the decision, and they felt like Figgy shouldn't have won and the belt should have stayed with Moreno. And although it was a close fight, I'm going to have to agree with the majority of the people that Moreno should have won. However, make no mistake about it, Moreno made some crucial errors in that fight that made the fight closer than what it should have been. He definitely needs to tighten up some mistakes, but this is still a very competitive fight. And in that third fight, Moreno was the one that was landing clean shots. His boxing is very crisp and sharp. In fact, I think he's very underrated when being recognized for his hands. On top of that, he's got amazing wrestling, and he's also a submission threat as well. He possesses good takedown defense, and overall, he's able to mix in all of this wrestling and grappling very well with his striking, and his shot selection is very wise, and he's got some nasty body kicks. He specifically has good left kicks, and he brutally hurt Kai Kara-France to the body when they fought. His hand placement and his upper body movement is phenomenal as well. And on the other hand, Figgy is a powerful bantamweight. The power that he possesses in his strikes is dangerous, and we saw that in his last meeting against Brandon Moreno. And similar to Moreno, he also has good wrestling, and he's definitely a threat when it comes to the ground game. He's got many submission wins, and his control being on top and bottom is fantastic. He has good damaging leg kicks, and he also has good boxing as well. But however, I don't think it's better than Moreno. And in their last meeting, Figgy did a good job of chopping the lead leg of Brandon Moreno early, and it was a very smart move. It compromised Moreno's movement early and forced him to adjust. He also landed 3 knockdowns on Moreno, which is a testament to his power and also his timing as well. He landed the jab in the right hand a few times, but there were a few things I noticed that went wrong with him. One of those things are I felt like he should have been more active. Now the thing is, I'm not saying he needed to match Moreno's work rate because Moreno has exceptional pacing and cardio. However, in certain moments of that fight, Figgy could be losing the round, and there almost wouldn't be any sense of urgency for him to try and retake control of the round. Moreno would land shots, and it almost looked like he was waiting to disrupt Moreno's offense and land a hard counter shot instead of increasing the pace and initiating the exchanges. And realistically, he probably would have won some rounds convincingly if he had been a bit more active, including the knockdowns. He had around 3 knockdowns that fight, and if he would have pushed the pace a few times, those rounds could have easily been deemed his rounds without any debate. I also felt like there were minimal leg kicks later in the fight. The leg kicks were working early in the fight due to Moreno's weakness in his stance, and he strayed away from it. And there's no point in abandoning a technique in a fight unless your opponent adjusts to it. And to my understanding, Moreno didn't do an excellent job of checking the leg kicks. Unlike Figgy, Moreno was the one that was very active in his offense in the third fight. Moreno was landing a lot of impactful and clean shots on Figgy. The jab, the right hand, and the left hook were money for Moreno. The way he put it all together, all while being defensively aware of the counters from Figgy, was brilliant. He was snapping Figgy's head back with that jab, and he followed up with a right hand several times behind it. And the 1-2-3 combination was also giving Figgy trouble as well. The occasional calf kicks and the body kicks from Moreno were landing as well. Defensively, he was good apart from the times when he got cracked, which led to him getting knocked down. He was good in the clinch and defended some takedown attempts from Figgy very well, and overall he had more variety than Figgy in his striking. However, Moreno wasn't perfect, and there were 3 mistakes that I saw in him in that fight. The first one is that he got too heavy on that lead leg many times in that fight. When you pay attention to how both guys stand, Figgy is a lot more balanced and his weight is in the center line, whereas Moreno, he could shift back and forth between his lead leg and his back leg. This gave Figgy so many opportunities to chop down that lead leg from Moreno, which was big for Figgy because he was leading in terms of leg strikes. And another mistake for Moreno was that he kept overcommitting on so many strikes. When he would throw a punch, a kick, or a flying knee, he would reach with it or overcommit, and in return, Figgy was able to clinch and land a few good counter shots against Moreno. This was something that I kept seeing a lot from Moreno, and it's a bit concerning, considering the power that Figgy packs behind his strikes. And when you think about the fact that he got knocked down while standing still, imagine if he got caught coming in. That would be a whole different story. Don't get me wrong, he did a good job of following up after he missed a few times, but you still don't want to be in too many of those situations where you get too excited to rush in. The last mistake that Moreno made against Figgy was dropping his hands when entering range. At distance, Moreno had a good active high guard, but when he's inside the pocket, there could be times where he gets caught because his hands are not in the right place, which is not good. Occasionally, his head movement makes up for it, but when you look back at the knockdowns in that fight, some of those happened because Moreno made some miscalculations. And yeah, it wasn't a big deal during that fight because he didn't get knocked out, but he did get knocked down. And I imagine that was probably one of the reasons why the judging was swayed in terms of damage. I remember Moreno winning a majority of the third round of that fight, but Figgy landed a knockdown late. And because of that, the round could have been scored for him. And all in all, I believe for both guys to win the fight, they would have to patch up their previous mistakes that I just mentioned. Moreno certainly has to address the leg kicks. His speed, accuracy, and explosion all start with his legs, and if he's not careful, he can get chopped down again. I think his boxing prowess will once again be displayed when he lands clean punches and catch Figueiredo at distance. He needs to limit the number of times where he overcommits because that could get dangerous. And lastly, be disciplined defensively and continue to give different looks. I think mixing in a couple of takedown attempts would help him as well. And as for Figgy, Figgy needs to set up the leg kicks better since Moreno is certainly aware of them this time around. If he can land them just like how he landed them last time, great things will definitely happen for him. If he can catch Moreno coming in with a hard shot and then following up with a couple of punches and kicks, that will certainly give Moreno problems. He needs to use the jab more and attack the body as well. That will open up the right hand over the top. And lastly, don't be too patient. If you're constantly waiting and in between that time, if you're getting lit up with combos by Moreno, you're putting yourself in a position to trail behind your opponent on the scorecards. Pace yourself correctly and take advantage of what you do best. So with that being said, I think Moreno will beat Figgy by unanimous decision. I think he'll beat Figgy either 49-46 or 48-47, and I think it will be a high action-packed fight. They are in Rio de Janeiro, which is Figgy's hometown, so Moreno has to have the mentality to not leave it in the hands of the judges. Last year, we've seen so many sus decisions from the UFC, so Moreno needs to make sure that he's not on the wrong side of that. And for the beginning of the fight, I think Figgy will start fast. He'll come firing leg kicks to try and back Moreno up. I think he'll land some hard punches that might drop Moreno. I don't think Moreno will get hurt, but I think at some point in the fight, he might get knocked down at least once. And I can see Figgy trying to pressure early and get Moreno up against the fence to try to control him to either land shots or takedowns. However, in the middle and towards the end of the fight, this is where I think Moreno will flip the switch. I think he'll start to increase the pace. He's going to land combos to the head and the body. I think he'll land a few counter shots as well, but I don't think Figgy will get dropped. I think Moreno's work rate and his activity late in the fight will be too difficult for Figgy to deal with, especially if Figgy can't land a shot to get Moreno off of him. And Moreno, he knows how to set up his offense. The only way I think Moreno wins by stoppage is if the volume starts to really overwhelm Figgy, and as a result, Figgy gets dropped, and Moreno finishes him on the ground by KO or submission. And I think if Figgy is going to finish Moreno, it would be him catching Moreno coming in. When you come rushing in, it doesn't have to be a hard punch for you to get knocked down, and for me, that's the only way Figgy gets it done by stoppage. He could get Moreno to the ground and lock in a submission, but I don't think that will happen. I think Figgy is going to have to deal with Moreno so much on the feet that I don't think he'll be able to get him down and lock in a submission. But it could happen early, so we'll see. And keep in mind that Moreno doesn't have his original team from Mexico, the same team that was with him in the first 3 fights against Figueiredo. And he doesn't have James Krause as well because of recent events, so it's going to be interesting to see how this fight plays out this time around. I think Figgy is still training with Henry Cejudo, but I might be wrong. Someone correct me on that. But the main part is Figgy is still with his original team. And that is it, guys. Thank you guys so much for listening to what I have to say. and let me know who wins this 4th fight between Brandon Moreno and Deiveson Figueiredo. Drop a comment and let me know in the comment section down below. Now, if you guys enjoy content that is related to combat sports, please drop a like on this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel down below. That would be greatly appreciated. Make sure to go down to the bottom of the description of this video to click on the link to follow my Twitter. I post my reactions and my thoughts about fight news and fight updates, so you definitely don't want to miss it at all. And other than that, it's been Steven, signing out. Peace!